Record. All right, welcome back to the Sip to Tally podcast. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and I'm here with another special guest. We got Glenn, my man Glenn from the 410 board, 410 Sports, rather fact. And we're gonna go through this kind of the same rabbit hole we've been down with our other guests throughout the week, and just get it from his point of view of about our 2024 Baltimore Ravens. And so I appreciate you, Glenn, for coming through. Thank you. Welcome to the Sip to Tally podcast.
I appreciate you having me, Coach. Always nice having you on our show. It's nice to come over here and see what you got going on your side.
I appreciate it. And what he mentioned is for the sake of every other week, I'll go over on their show and we'll have a discussion about what happened the previous Sunday or Monday or whenever the game was with the Baltimore Ravens, and we have a good time over there discussing it. And we just we see the game a different way, and it's interesting to see how three sets of eyes see stuff differently on the field, and then it's a lot of stuff that we see commonality too that I think most of the fan base see, but some people that matter don't see. But we'll get to all that in just a second. So the first thing I want to do is this is a question I've asked everybody, because me and IvanEvans, they were the first two like Raven centric people I know. I knew a guy named Joe Nubo, but he stopped doing it, and so I've seen different people come into the fold. What made you guys want to get together and start a podcast? And then what actually brought you two together in the first place?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate you asking. Yeah, and shout out to IvanEvans too. IvanEvans came on our show when we had nobody watching or listening, nobody, and he came on. So always appreciative to IvanEvans. But yeah, as far as me and Jimmy, man, me and Jimmy have known each other since middle school. I met Jimmy actually first through my wife, my now wife, because we've known each other since then as well. They lived on the same road. And we're both sports crazy. Played every sport growing up. So did Jimmy. Played every sport. We're very different in how we're built, in that he is he's a short, he's a short, strong guy, and I'm a tall, thin guy. So we were a good combination, like on the basketball court, because he's a guard, can handle the ball. You wouldn't know it by looking at him, but that dude can handle the ball. He used to watch like the And1 mixtapes, and he can handle the ball like crazy. And then I had the height and length, so we made a pretty good 2-on-2 squad. But also played a lot of football and other things, and so just became friends. And throughout the years, stayed close. And then when we were adults, we were still doing the same thing, playing sports together, talking sports like crazy with not just me and him, but all our friends, and getting into some pretty spirited arguments and heated debates over all that. And then one day, Jimmy's a kind of a go-getter. He's not the type to talk about doing stuff. He's the type to get doing stuff. So he said, "Hey, I'm gonna buy some mics. Let's just turn them on and see what happens." And so that's kind of how it started. Give Jimmy credit for kind of being the one who just said, "You know what, let's stop talking about doing it and actually do it." And so I'm certainly lucky to have him as a friend and co-host, no doubt.
And you guys have grown pretty fast in this space too. Not when, but how long have you guys actually had this channel? And since y'all turned the mic on? How long has that been?
So the YouTube channel came a little bit after the podcast. We were originally audio only, starting in the 2019 season, where we were just distributing all the podcast audio sites, but turned on YouTube. I believe it's been 4 years in the YouTube side. So yeah, I mean, started off just me and him sharing a snow cone mic together, and making up our own sound effects to making it to YouTube. And that was certainly a big leap, getting on camera and not just being behind the microphone. But man, that's the best part, man. YouTube's been it's been a blast.
And you, both of you guys are lifelong Ravens fans, correct? Like from the jump.
Yeah, so I'm 37. When I was a young fan, so I grew up where dad wasn't always around early on, and I was there with my mom and my brother, who were not sports fans at all. But my dad was. And so even though he wasn't around, he handed that down to me. So I'm fighting my mom and my brother for the remote, and I'm sitting there watching football by myself. And when I was young, there was no Ravens. So I was honestly a Cowboys fan, because who was on TV all the time in the early to mid 90s?
Cowboys.
It was the damn Cow. And guess who they beat? They beat the damn Steelers. And I'll never forget. So I've hated the Steelers even longer than I've been a Ravens fan. But no, Cowboys fan initially, but as soon as the Ravens got here, obviously all my allegiance went to them. I got rid of my Cowboys fandom and quickly moved over to the Ravens. So yeah, since '96, yes sir.
And that's From day one. That's since the move from Cleveland to Baltimore. So that's it's rare in this space that we find day ones, and it's good to know and good to hear that the enthusiasm they have for the team. And not being from there, I hear it in your voice. I heard it when I talked to Ryan earlier this week. Like native, if I destroy this word, don't hurt me. Baltimoreans,
No, you got it.
the love for their team is crazy, and it comes out when you talk to them because they get the tone goes up. Tone goes up. And so, with that being said, what's your fondest memory in these since 1996? That's about almost 30 years,
Yeah.
28 years.
Dang, that's crazy when you put it like that. But yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, when I think of that, I think of a lot of memories. Obviously, the first Super Bowl, I was pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
And so while it was enjoyable, I certainly enjoyed the second one more. I was an adult. I had my own home, had as many loved ones as I could fit into my basement were over there. Didn't even know at the time, but my son was actually in my wife's belly at the time. It happened so recently. Before that, we didn't even know that he was with her. So literally everyone I loved was pretty much at my house for that game. So that's a big one. But I got to tell you, that Christmas game against the Niners last year was pretty darn special. I went to Lamar's first game when he took over as a starter, and I'll never forget the first drive because we just ran all the way down the field, punched it in. So man, there's a lot of them, but if I had to single out, the one most recent was the Christmas game. Man, I tell you what, let me just say this. I bought, look, I'm not a wealthy person at all. You know, I'm like most people, I get by, I'm a paycheck to paycheck kind of guy. I get by. We saved, and we bought 7 tickets to that AFC Championship game, Coach. 7 tickets, because there hasn't been an AFC Championship game in Baltimore in, I believe, 54 years. So I said, this is a literal once-in-a-lifetime, potentially, opportunity to see a game in Baltimore. So we bought 7 tickets to that daggone game, Coach, and they were not cheap, just to watch us lay a daggone egg. So I wanted that to be my favorite memory. And while it still maybe ranks up there because of the whole experience and the build up and all that, but certainly a disappointing end to it. But yeah, I'd have to say the Super Bowl, and then man, that Christmas Day game last year was pretty special.
Now, this will be the first time I give my fondest memory. I let everybody that I've talked to go and tell theirs, and I wanted to hold mine to the last one.
Let's hear it.
And I was at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, but not at the game. I was in the city of New Orleans, so that's a big memory. But I just remember, and one of the guests I already talked about this one, jumping out of my seat when Jacoby caught that pass in Denver on the first Super Bowl run. Well, the second Super Bowl run. That Mile High miracle is exactly what it was. Like I was like, man, no way. And then Joe just had whatever Joe took prior to that playoff run, he should have packaged that up and bottled it. Because that Sun Gun was on fire the entire playoff run.
Yeah.
And to pull that off with Jacoby doing that, and for it to actually happen with the time that was left. And the funny thing is, you got to emotionally get yourself back together because that's just to get you to overtime.
Yep. Yeah, that's when Corey Graham had the pick in overtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That actual play, I remember that got me out my seat, and it's something I won't ever forget from that right there. But the Super Bowls, that's the easy answer.
Yeah.
From everybody. But let's get into the 2024 season, and our Baltimore Ravens are a bunch of different things at this point. But the main issue with everybody I've talked to from before the season and during the season has been the offensive line. Tell me where you stand when it comes to our offensive line, all 5 of them, the good, if you have any good, and the bad as well.
Oh, sir, I think there's certainly some good. I think what Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum are doing is pretty good. I think Ronnie Stanley returning back to maybe not the form we saw in 2019, but certainly above average left tackle is I think a fair statement. And then Tyler Linderbaum is a top 3 center in the league. So there's some good. And I think Roger, this was like, you don't hear people bag on what Roger's doing because it's expected. He's a rookie. And the issues we're seeing is stuff that he really can't control. He just lacks play strength. And I think we all are confident that given a full NFL offseason, he's going to come back a stronger football player. So but there's nothing right now he can do. So it's hard to be critical of him. Go, just be stronger, Roger. Like you can't just become stronger overnight. So he gets leniency. I think the biggest the scariest part is the guard situation. And I think you get a little bit less leniency when you have play experience, you have years of NFL experience under your belt, and yet it just still doesn't look like that. And especially in the case of like Faalele, because it's so, Coach, how is a guy that big can't move anyone? I don't understand. It's like somebody needs to hypnotize this guy, unlock the meanness in him. He's just too daggone nice. He's a nice guy on the football field, and you don't want a nice guy on your offensive line, especially one that's 6'8", 380 and could absolutely throw his weight around, but just chooses not to. And then McCary, McCary is an interesting one because they paid him, and I think he's a valuable asset to the team. But it's like, how long do you keep running a guy out there that leads the league in penalties and isn't playing well even when he's not holding guys? So I have my hesitations on how high, like what's the ceiling of this offensive line with those two guys in at guard. But I also understand that I don't think Coach is willing to make a personnel change. It seems like he's willing to make those changes on defense, but it doesn't for some reason. Why is it? So let me ask you, Coach, why the heck does he seem so okay with benching Marcus Williams despite his cap hit, despite his paycheck, and despite the fact that Ardarius Washington had very little experience in big-time play situations, but yet he's not willing to take those same types of risks or approach with the offensive guard position?
Only thing I can even think of is he don't want to mess the chemistry up. But the chemistry it's not good because they're not playing as one, so something has to be off. But I just don't understand how you look at, because you say you trust analytics, you trust the numbers, where your numbers showing you that 65 and 77 are not good enough.
Yeah,
we were talking about the offensive line and him not willing to make a change.
Yeah,
I think you asked me why wouldn't he, and I said something about chemistry, but we got that part.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing is like I guess the head scratching thing is if it's not working, and we all agree that it can't really get that much worse, why not kick the tires on somebody else? This is the last chance. Do we agree there? Like this is their only opportunity. If they wanted to make any changes, the bye week, 4 games left, got to win. I mean, they got to win at least 2, but I think to feel good, they got to win 3.
Right.
So if not now, then there is literally no other opportunity to make those changes. So do you think they're just going to go status quo and keep trotting McCary and Faalele out there?
I do.
Yeah.
But I think even if they would make one change, it still would just be McCary. It wouldn't be Faalele. What do you think? Do you think that, well, obviously you think there should be one. Who do you think is more likely to get subbed out?
I think it's McCary, only because we've seen him play Voorhees already this year. And obviously he is not playing Ben Cleveland no matter what the hell happens. Right. So
what about Jones?
Have we seen much of Jones at guard? I mean,
he played almost the whole season at Houston last year at guard.
Yeah,
the first game he was at tackle, and Matabike destroyed him.
Yeah.
And then like 2 games later they moved him to guard, and he had a okay guard season. He was at guard when we played him the second time last year.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a possibility, but I still don't think I don't think he's the first in, and like you said, I don't think they're replacing both. So our best chance is McCary leaves for Voorhees is my take.
Yeah, and that's the only move I think they make, but I don't think they do for some reason. I felt like he was talking in code last week, but I think he's serious this time. He ain't making no moves to try to keep that chemistry so far.
And the big thing, if you're going to do that, I don't want to see the disappearance of Pat Ricard again either. Like that's the head scratch. You lose your offensive line's underperforming, particularly on the interior. You lose Charlie Kohler, your best blocking tight end, and your response to that is to just go super, super light and remove your fullback, who's like another guard on the field. I don't think that was the right call, Coach.
And the only thing I think with that is I think they didn't want to have those extra guys in the box from Philly because they knew they couldn't block. Like the more guys they put in the box, the more guys we couldn't block. And that's the only thing I could think of, because if they would have put Ricard in, that's another lineman or another linebacker in the box. And we already having trouble. So I think their philosophy was spread them out, get as many small guys on the field, see if we can run it that way. If not, we got to try to, throw it down the field or whatever. But them two interior defensive linemen was just too much for Makari and Falele and even Linderbaum and sometimes.
Yeah, and they always talk about, how it's a team sport and everybody's important. 1 to 53 needs to pull their weight in order to get to where you want to go. Did we see how important Bateman is to this team when he left? All of a sudden, we couldn't beat him on the outside. We couldn't take advantage of one single coverage. Is he more important than I think fans give him credit for?
In this offense, I do, because he's the one guy that can run crisp routes and perform on time. A lot of our other guys are more so scramble drill, backyard type of guys. Bateman performs best like West Coast offense. Like at this spot I'm supposed to be here, I'm gonna be there. And he got enough little nuance in his route running that he turned guys around. And it's evident when he's not getting the ball. Because I just look at him sometimes when they not throwing to him, and he is over there just having a field day with guys working on his route tree. So he can run the route. So it's just that backyard stuff he's not as good at. So putting him in there and being the number one read helps a lot. He's not very good when he's that backside guy, but him being the number one, it gives more timing. And then once the line breaks down, they do their scramble stuff. That's where them other guys at. That's where Likely's good at. That's where Zay's good at, and Mark too. Mark that is just good at finding open spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is you remove him, and then, of course, Zay's going to get a lot of the attention of the defense, and they're going to try everything they can to take him away. And then Deontay doesn't want to go into the game and continues to sit on suspension. Man, that's a head scratcher for me there, Coach, because I get wanting to play, and I think every player should want to play and want to contribute. But I think the part that really shocks me is the entitlement factor, the part that he felt he deserved to go in above guys, to go in ahead of guys. And the part that I just want him to understand is this isn't like a team that was struggling, that had a horrible offense, that was in desperate need of offensive talent. This was the greatest. This is the best offense in football and one of the very best of all time. Led the league in yards per attempt in both ground and pass game. So come in a little more humble, Deontay, and earn your stripes. Derrick Henry came in humble and did so in the offseason and said he had to earn his stripes. So my only question to Deontay would be, where do you get this level of entitlement?
I would think, and this is me thinking for him, just to try to combat that question. And I don't think he was promised anything, but I think his resume says I've done X, Y, Z. And I don't remember what 3-4 years ago, but his resume says, hey, I'm this good. So as I get accustomed to the playbook and do some things in practice, I should at least get more than 5 snaps a game. But he got to that. But now I understand, like, the whole time, like, that stuff probably was boiling week after week after week. And then he went from 17 snaps versus Cincinnati, which I think was his most. And he probably thought, okay, I'm gonna be a part of the team now. And he went like 10, 5, 6, something like that. So I can see all that stuff boiling up. And then when Bateman go down, he's not the guy to come right in. I can see why he's mad, and I can understand wholeheartedly why he's mad. But he don't give them any kind of leverage by not going in the game. If he win the game and did something positive, they have to say, like, oh, we probably need to get Deontay in some more. But by not going in the game, there's no negative light that's going to be shined on him in this season or the next, unless it's truly no hard feelings when he come back to Pittsburgh game and he does something. Because other than that, his next contract is going to look, if he get one, going to look bad because of that decision in that moment.
Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense for him, for financially or otherwise. But I guess I was always curious about this, Coach, and I want to get your I'm sorry I'm taking over and asking you questions, but
it's a conversation.
Okay, cool. I'm just curious because as a coach, like so the players have known John obviously longer than Deontay. They've been in battles with John. They've been to the war with John. When a player like this who's new to the team is now disgruntled, everyone knows about it because they had to make a statement, announce that he was suspended. So now everybody's kind of looking at Deontay. Do you think the players are more on this guy, like, are they more on John and the team side and saying, man, why did this guy come in with all this expectations and all this? Or are they more on the player side since they're players and that's, that player brotherhood?
Mm-hmm.
Whose side do you think that they generally are more on?
That's a good question. And the thing is, because there's been past wide receiver disgruntledness, and we all thought that was toward Greg Roman.
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's more wide receiver gruntleness, and Greg Roman's not here.
Mm-hmm.
So it that's a really good question. Because which side of the fence they're on will determine a lot. So if they're on the player side, they're probably tuning out anything that the leadership says, not involving X's and O's.
Mm.
But if they're on the John side or the team side, that's gonna ostracize, this guy that's gonna stay in the room because they're not gonna play him if they still mad at him. So now he's just gonna be a cancer picking off an ear at a time, until he probably rallies some troops. You don't want that trying to do what you're trying to do. You're trying to get to the Super Bowl. You can't have that. And then you're scared to let him go because as soon as you let him go, other people throughout the league know his pedigree. And he probably would go straight back to Pittsburgh. So both situations are in a screwed up, spot. Because it's like they don't want to be together, but they can't be without each other at this point.
And do you think? See, yeah. So you think that the reason they wouldn't consider cutting him is because they want to keep him away from other potential, playoff contenders, or do you think it has anything to do with the potential comp pick they might get if he signs elsewhere?
But I'm thinking that potential comp pick is probably going to be trash because he won't get a contract worth of, it might be a 6 or 7 rounder, if that. Because contract wherever he's going to go, it's going to be a prove it incentive laden contract. Now, if he get one of those huge, contracts like that with all the incentives and he go produce, then our comp pick would be good. But what are the odds of that happening at 29 years old?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty low. But I also can't imagine a contender seeing this situation, seeing how it ended in Pittsburgh. I don't think Mike Tomlin wants anything to do with Deontay Johnson. Seeing how the Panthers gave him away for less than they would have gotten had they just not played him the rest of the year, because he already showed enough in Carolina to have warranted at least a decent contract in the offseason. They could have just IR'd him, put him on the bench, and they would have gotten a bet. They got rid of him for less than that. And then now this situation with the Ravens, I can't imagine the Bills or another contender are going to go, man, I can't wait to get Deontay on this team.
Hey, funny, Kadarius Toney was just on the team last week.
That's true.
He got cut this week. He was on the team for about 6 days. He got picked up, returned the punt, cut Tuesday.
Out of here.
So
yeah.
you never know. You never know when they get desperate. You never know. But let's talk about Orr for a minute. What do you think of his progression from game 1, 2, and 3 up until now? Because we've kind of turned the tide defensively. We gave up the third most explosives in week 1 through 10. These last 3 weeks we gave up the fewest. So even though the numbers don't look like it because we were so bad, defense is playing a lot better. What do you think of Orr from game 1 up until game 13?
Yeah, it seemed to me like in the first, the first 10 weeks or so, they were too busy trying to disguise their coverages, and all they did was take their guys out of position to actually do their job. They were too concerned with trying to make everything look the same pre-snap and then sprint to where you're actually going to be after. And all you did was take guys out of position and make them look like they didn't know how to play football. So I love the change. My only concern is I just wonder how much of this is Zach Orr. I'm sure he's still the daily play caller on game day, but how much of this scheme change and construction of defense is Dean Pease and the other influences, and how much is Zach Orr? I don't think anyone was shocked that there was going to be some growing pains, but we can't have a Baltimore Ravens defense be the worst in the league. We can't be that bad of growing. He can't be 32nd. I don't care what you're 32nd, and you can't be 32nd and be a Ravens defense. So I don't think anyone expected it to be this bad, especially with they lost some key cogs, right? The Darby and losing Clowney. Those weren't small pieces, but they got some pretty damn good players here still.
True.
And to be 32nd was a disappointment. So I love the change in not only the explosive play rate, but just their overall passing yards per game has absolutely been almost cut in half. And that's incredible. That's to credit to the defense and to the players. But man, you got to give him some credit for being open to taking that help from Dean Pease and others and saying, look, hey, I'm a young guy. I got a lot to learn. I'm going to learn on the job. And so I don't think this means like, I don't necessarily, I'm not willing to give him the job long term now yet, coach. I still need to see a little bit more. Like, I'm not willing to say, all right, he's the guy going forward for the years to come. But man, the turnaround has been pretty remarkable nonetheless. But I guess my question would be, is this more, how much of a detriment was Marcus Williams, coach? Was he that bad? Was he so bad that was was that the bigger change, or was it more scheme related, communication getting better, or was it simply Marcus Williams was addition by subtraction?
I think it's a ripple effect because the two guys you had slated to play free safety couldn't play free safety. And so now you got to, take Kyle and do different things with him. So now you move Kyle back to a spot. I'm not going to say he's unfamiliar with it, but last year he wasn't in that spot a lot. So now you got to simplify for whoever's new coming in. And so now the simpler it is, the faster they can play. And I think all of them are playing faster right now. But also that change kind of coincided with the players only meeting. I don't know if you had heard about it. It was in the Baltimore Sun, if I'm not mistaken. So apparently a couple of weeks ago they had a players only meeting defensively, and a lot, how you hash stuff out and you say what you got to say. It's supposed to be no consequences, but feelings get hurt sometimes. And the defense started to turn around after that. So I think that had more to do with it than a lot because from my understanding, the little understanding I got of it, they started to hold each other accountable. And even I don't think he was in the meeting, but I think even Orr sent the message or asked them like, "Hey, how can I help you guys be better at what you do?" And he was like you mentioned earlier, he took it all in, and they got together and formulated a plan. And Pease probably went there and told him, "Look, just don't call as much stuff. Don't be so fancy." And then you build back up to it. And I'm pretty sure he used different terminology, and they probably had bigger discussions, but basically settle down. Yeah. And with settling it down in his space, and then the players, they got to earn the trust of the OC or DC too. And so that probably was an issue too with all of them probably being the same age. So yeah, it's a lot of factors can go into it. And again, first time ever calling plays on any level, and you the DC of the Baltimore Ravens, and you expected to uphold this 2000s mantra. And probably was a lot of pressure, but I think he's gotten better. It took Mike quicker to adjust than him, but if both of them adjusting at the same rate, I'll be cool with it because that means he'll be hitting his stride week 18, round 1 of playoff, round 2 of the playoffs.
Yeah, and hopefully that the ability to make things a little bit more complicated, if as long as it doesn't hurt you, will come when it matters most. Because I don't think you can necessarily, we had a tough run of quarterbacks early on, and I think that's what you're going to see more, of course, in the playoffs. So I don't know if you can expect this level of success against the top echelon quarterbacks if you're going to trot a simple defense out there. So hopefully, like you said, that build can continue. And then in week 18, and of course in the playoffs, we can see their best version. Yeah.
Lastly, I'll get you out of here and talking about this guy. I know you guys were passionate about mentioning him. What the heck is wrong with Tucker?
Oh man, this guy. I mean, I never thought. It's funny. I just was listening to a show where Colt McCoy was talking about the swagger that Justin Tucker had, even as a young guy at Texas when he was the kicker. He said they were in a game where they were tied early and they weren't moving the ball offensively. 4th down, they trot him out there, and Justin Tucker, without the authorization from his coach or any teammate, called his own number, caught the ball, didn't kick it, and ran and got a daggone 1st down, was screamed at immediately by Colt McCoy. Said, look, if we're going to go for it on 4th down, you're not the one that's going to do it. We're going to do it. Long after that, though, they went on to trounce the opponent, and then Tucker walks by him at the end of the game and goes, "Maybe I sparked you guys," and they just keep going. I mean, that's the guy we need back. We need the swagger back. I can't believe he lost it. He seemed oozing sweat, like overflowing with swagger. I mean, this guy's doing opera singing in the middle of a rural farms with a handful of Western fries. This guy was just uber swag. Nothing could phase his confidence. And then a couple misses, and this guy's he's lost it.
Completely.
I'm really baffled by it. I mean, we've seen it in other sports, particularly in golf and baseball, not really seen it much in football, at least from a throwing standpoint. Vanderjack, I remember, was the most accurate kicker of all time, missed a game winner and just completely fell off the cliff. Mm-hmm. He's the only one I can think of off the top of my head in football. Saw it a ton with baseball. I mean, guys couldn't throw it to first base. Same with golf. I mean, guys just couldn't hit their driver anymore, couldn't hit the lob wedge, whatever it is. But man, this is a scary thing because they cannot. There is, I mean, they could have brought in some competition, but listening to Jay Feely, former NFL kicker, he said that would probably do more harm to Tucker and his confidence, which is what you're trying to revive, than actually help him. Because I said, hey, light a fire under his ass. Let's bring in some competition.
That's what I thought.
I mean, we do that everywhere else. There's no other position where we're just going to give this type of leniency to. Now, there's also no other position that's expected to have perfection like kickers are. Every other, you're okay to miss a tackle here and there. If you drop a ball, okay. This guy has to be 100% or we're critical. But there's no way, if you give any of those coaches or front office members true serum, that they say they would feel good. Even at a 42-yard field goal to win the game in the playoffs, there's no way they feel great about it. They're going to lie to us.
Right.
But there's no way they feel great about it. So I was talking to Jimmy, and we were talking about what areas of the team we feel best about, and what the team, the area I'm most scared about is special teams, because we're the worst in the league. We've given up more onside kicks. We're not a good kick cover team. We don't necessarily get a bunch of big returns. We've had, I think, one or two decent returns all year. And we're the worst field goal kicking team, and our punter is iffy. And I doubt in high leverage situations. I don't have a lot of confidence in that guy either.
Me either.
So it's like, are they the group I have the least amount of confidence? I think that's where I'm at, Coach.
Yeah, and it's bad because you think about it. You give up field position. You don't get enough field position. You get in field position to score. You can't score. It's deflating.
Yeah.
It's deep. They are a huge part of the game, and probably could be the jail. You get a huge return and you spark your offense, or you get a punt return that because the defense got a good stop, that those plays can spark your offense. But I mean, we wasted half the season on Deontay Hardy, and so that was part of the problem. I've been calling that from the jump. Like, he was, wasted cap space.
Yeah.
Has done nothing.
He didn't even do anything in camp. I mean, I know he had some personal issues that kept him out, but even when he came back, I was like, why is this guy here? I don't understand it. That's
who got treated like a veteran.
Yeah.
And didn't have to earn nothing. Him.
Right.
He came right in as that guy. I didn't feel like he had to earn it. And so he just chilled the whole preseason. Like you said, he had a personal thing, but once he got back, I still don't remember him do anything.
Nothing. I remember when we had our roster, our 53-man predictions, I kept him off. I'm like, why? What does he bring to this team that you can't get out of Tylan Wallace, Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell once he came
even
back?
Dayton Wade at the time.
Yeah. Oh, man. Dayton Wade was phenomenal in the preseason. Absolutely. It's a real head scratcher. But, man, I just hope he can get it back, because he was such a – just think, like you talked about special teams and the weapon that – just remember our last Super Bowl run. Jacoby Jones, the weapon that he was. Justin Tucker, a rookie. A young guy booting it from everywhere. I mean, that was a true strength. And I can't believe we're at a spot with the Ravens where I'm saying, damn, we got the worst special teams in the league. Yep. It's crazy.
It is wild to even say that from looking at the history of the team. Defense, special teams, and just don't hurt yourself. And that our team is not any of those things at the moment.
No.
Glenn, I appreciate you for coming on. But before I get you out of here, this one question we got to ask: Are you running?
Oh,
or is Jimmy eating?
Let me tell you what. I've stopped researching running shoes. Okay, I'm not even looking into running anymore. I've retired. The weather got cold and I stopped training because thank you, Adafe Owe. Those of you who do not know, me and my co-host have a friendly wager. If Odafe Owe gets 10 sacks or more, he has to eat a Baconator live on the air. If he gets less than 10 sacks, I have to compete in a 5K. He's a competitive runner who's also a vegan. If that gives you a little backstory, that's why he wants me to run, and I want him to eat a Baconator. So, yeah, 8 sacks. He's got 2 left. He gets them this weekend, Coach. He gets them. Tommy DeVito's going to be generous. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be Drew Lock. It's going to be old Tommy Cutlets, and he's going to be out there dishing out sacks all over the field, and I think Odafe gets 2. My only question is, Coach, will he get enough snaps, or will he get the bench? Will he get pined and for Tavius Robinson and others?
He might, because of how many games we play in this quick stretch. They might pull. If we get up on them big, I think they do pull him early.
He's a young guy. He's got all. I mean, he don't need rest, Coach.
Hey, he gonna get plenty shots at it week after, chasing Russ around.
That's right. And Russ was good to him last time. Russ is good to him. So yeah, let's hope Odafe can keep it up. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Coach. I appreciate it.
No problem. Let the guys that don't follow you or don't know where to get in touch with you guys, let them know where they can get your content at.
No doubt. Yeah, absolutely. YouTube is where you can see our faces and hear our words at 410 Sports Talk. But if you just want to listen, we distribute all our podcasts to all the podcasting websites. We're also throwing up a bunch of new clips as of late, so be sure to check out our shorts and all that stuff. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. Just look for 410 Sports Talk.
All right. Appreciate you, Glenn, for coming through. And shout out to James and the man that y'all don't see. Shout out to DK.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate y'all, man. Catch y'all on the next one.
Thanks.